As the party awoke the next morning and went back downstairs to the tavern, Belagron greeted the group while serving wine to an elven patron. And after asking if the group needed the rooms for another night, Belagron instead offered the rooms for another night for free if the group could share a rumor with him that he enjoyed. Gar shared a rumor about a slumbering ancient dragon in the dragonborn capital of Deristrix that protects the lands, but unfortunately it didn't seem to interest Belagron, since dragons have not been seen on Ador in centuries. Gar also tried to share a rumor of a group of evildoers that are trying to open a portal to the abyss, and while this was true, it seemed like too tall of a tale for Belagron to accept. Mavis attempted to share a rumor of monsters known as Barlguras and Bababuis, stating that they're monsters brought by the evil organization that Gar spoke of. And upon proclaiming their immense terror and great danger, Belagron was impressed enough with the rumor to accept it, especially if he were able to share it with any monster hunters such as those from the Third Bulwark. Belagron decided to share a rumor of his own in return, and given the fact that Mavis is a gnome, Belagron chose a fitting rumor to share. Belagron spoke of a rumor of a lost city known as Besmeden, a city lost to history with its location unknown and its reason for disappearing unknown. Belagron said that if you were to ask a dwarf, they would tell you that Besmeden was a city home to the greatest smiths and forgers the land has ever known. There was no ore they could not refine, there was no item they could not forge. But if you were to ask a gnome, they would tell you that Besmeden was a city home to the greatest tinkerers and inventors the land had ever seen. There was nothing they could not build, whatever they put their minds to, they could create it. Belagron continued that this rumor has apparently been a point of contention for dwarves and gnomes for centuries, but since no one has ever found the city, and the only knowledge of it has been word of mouth, it remains a rumor. As the group asked about breakfast, Mavis added, "without wine," and the elven patron subtly scoffed at the remark. Laren returned a scoff of her own, unhappy with the elf's attitude, and the group ordered breakfast. Gar made a point to sit down next to the pompous elf, and after a short exchange of a couple snide remarks, the elf proudly left the tavern. As the elf left, Oliver Flynn entered the tavern, as chipper and talkative as ever, much to Mavis's chagrin. Zeos approached Oliver, and Oliver's expression changed to one of almost pleading, as Oliver explained that he has grown concerned for his friend, Chasiana Thalrazil, after she's been gone for so long. Oliver formally requested that the group locate Chasiana for him, or return with news of her whereabouts, and in return Oliver stated that he would be in the group's debt, and would try to do anything in his power for a favor if the group would request one from him. Zeos shared the information that he learned about the Cloud Spires with the rest of the group, and as the group was discussing their plans, Belagron arrived with breakfast for them, and after the group finished eating, they each dispersed to different areas of Harmony to take care of various tasks. Gar and May visited a general goods store to purchase some items on a list supplied by Mavis for some supplies for his tinkering needs. Most items were able to be found other than the boom powder, which Gar and May had to visit a blacksmith for. Gar and May then visited the shop known as A Pocket in Time for May to check on them, possibly locating the pocket watch she's searching for. Though A Pocket in Time did not locate the watch, they did locate records of it, and that it had apparently been purchased by a vendor whose last known location was in the city of Nidon. Laren, Mavis, and Zeos made their way to the College of Lore to retrieve passes for the group to visit the college libraries without restraint, as long as the group did not wander into restricted sections. The receptionist, who introduced herself as Alarin, added that the passes would not allow the group into the other bardic colleges, the College of Glamour, the College of Swords, or the College of Valor. After picking up their passes, Zeos made his way to visit Torin to ask him a few questions. Zeos arrived at the simple shop that Torin owns, known as Portals and Plains, and made his way inside to speak with him. The two exchanged short formalities, and Zeos asked if a response letter had arrived from the letter he sent while in Kalcheth, but unfortunately it seemed that a response could still be a few weeks out. Zeos sat down to some tea with Torin, and Torin asked Zeos about his origins, including the origins of the scales on his body, and Zeos shared that he was unsure of the specifics, although he has speculated that there had to have been some sort of draconic connection in his past, which was curious to both of them, since a dragon has not been seen in the land of Ador in centuries. Throughout their conversation, Torin noted that the group seems very close, and yet distant from each other, and reminded Zeos and the absent group to take time to relax and connect. Zeos asked about the 4 bardic colleges, and while Torin is not a bard, he shared what he could, stating that the College of Swords is very proficient with swords, both in fighting and in performance. The College of Valor is full of storytellers of harrowing tales that go down in legend, mostly from tales that were witnessed personally during an adventure. And the College of Glamour being a college of enchantment and performance in its truest sense, that there was rarely an individual that could resist the charm of a bard from the College of Glamour. Zeos and Torin spoke of the different casters of magic and the nature of their connection to the Weave. Torin explained that the Weave is still a mystery to all casters, and that one possible belief that he has heard is that the weave is not a tool to be harnessed, but rather a force that a caster, through their various somatic and verbal components, asks for a response from, and that there are times where the weave does not respond. After spending a bit more time in conversation, Zeos bid Torin farewell and left to rejoin the group. Back at the College of Lore, Mavis began researching several topics, first of which was the locations of known volcanoes on Ador, in search of information on where he could find an abundance of ores and minerals. During this research, he found mention of the city of Gildeth, the dwarven capital, the entire city being built into the sides of a mountain carved into its very stone. Mavis learned that Gildeth contains the largest mine on Ador, one that has been open for centuries, yet only an estimated 20% of it has been fully explored, and it is known to be so vast that it ventures into areas of the Underdark. Mavis learned a bit of the origins of the inventory, that it began as a relatively small event between gnomes that rapidly grew over the years to a magnificent and renowned event, one that now has great talent and marvelous inventions. From functioning robots to visual spectacles to feats of ingenuity, the inventory appears to be quite the event, and Mavis truly realized what he was up against if he enters this competition. During his research, as Mavis flipped through book after book after book in search of any and all information he could find, he accidentally ran across a children's tale titled The Lost Boy, and as Mavis flipped through its pages, he read a simple story about a boy that did not know his family, or where he came from. This boy wandered the land in search of his family, and instead found family in a new form, in the friends that he met on his journey. The boy referred to himself as Zeos, though this was the only resemblance to the Zeos that Mavis knows, as the Zeos from the story was a human. Mavis replaced the book with a bit of curiosity, but eventually left to rejoin the rest of the group. Gar visited the College of Lore in search of rumors and information on two topics, the Isle of the Gods and the lost city of Besmeden. During his research, he ran across information on the deity known as Milil, also known as the Lord of Song, who apparently was said to have been the one to have founded the City of Harmony. Strangely, Milil was both believed to be the bard that strummed the first note, ringing out into creation, and also the first bard created by the first note, with both of them being created together in harmony. The opposing religion to that of the first note is that of elementalists that believe that the prime elementals, the first elementals, were the ones that created the material plane, and throughout Gar's research he learned that the Isle of the Gods appears in both religions. For elementalists, they believe that the Isle was created by the prime elemental of Earth, and believers in the Song of Creation say that the Isle was the first island created by the first note, and where the divine beings began. No information existed on the Isle's location, though it is believed to have been somewhere in the Sapphire Expanse off to the west. Gar also learned that the prime elemental of Earth is named Rok, and the prime elemental of Air is named Ruah. Gar also found a little bit of information on the lost city of Besmeden, most of it confirming the same rumors that Belagron told the group, although Gar also learned that the city was said to have been swallowed up by the very Earth itself. May also visited the College of Lore, where she met with Thrakilm Ironbrow, a linguist that answered her request from the day previous for interpretation of a sensitive document. May was very direct and strict about the necessity of the safekeeping of this document, and Thrakilm understood her insistence. May produced a document that was apparently written in several different languages, some of which had already been translated. Thrakilm was able to decipher a couple of additional sentences. One sentence was in Sylvan. There is darkness within us all, a battle that we continuously fight, one that beckons us to surrender, but we mustn't. And one sentence was in Orcish. Darkness cannot stand in the light. Thrakilm realized the recurring theme within the document and identified a short bit of script at the end of the document that did not appear to be a language he knew of. After Thrakilm finished translating what he could from the document, May retrieved it and left the study. Laren also visited the College of Lore in search of any sections on jewelry, trying to find any information she could on this ring that Herman said that he hid from the Knox family. During her research, she discovered a section of books involving signet rings of noble families, and she spotted a glowing symbol engraved into the wood of the bookshelf that seemed to disappear as she pulled her left hand away from it, the one with the Knox family symbol on it. As her hand approached the symbol, she heard Herman's voice in her head, seemingly trying to ward her off. Laren decided to touch the symbol with her other hand, the one with the symbol of 2 leaves on it, and this time Herman's voice seemed surprised and accepting. Gar asked Laren if she could sneak closer to listen in, as she overheard conversation about the... After some contemplating, Laren decided to check 4 floors up from her current floor. Eventually, Laren found a simple book titled The Looking Glass for the Unwelcome, which she immediately recognized was written in Thieves' Cant, and its actual title was Don't Look Here Unless I Told You to, as she realized that this was not actually the title, but apparently instructions from Hermund. Upon opening the book, an illusory image of Hermund appeared, congratulating Laren on finding the first clue, and giving her the second one. As he spoke,
"Tomes and stories do plentifully abound, where you will travel for this item to be found. Symbols and ores, well, I've already said this part, I don't have to re-explain. For one, there is music. For another, there is knowledge. Both an art in their own sense. You have found the one. Now find the other."
The book closed itself, and Laren left the library contemplating her next step. Zeos briefly visited the College of Lore to rent a tome on the Sylvan language, and the party regrouped at the Rumor's Reach after a full day of research. The group shared the knowledge they learned, and Zeos learned of the document that May has, and he shared that he speaks many languages and offered his help in possibly translating some of it. Mavis transferred some items between his bag and Zeos' bag of holding, and returned Zeos' bag to him, addressing him as Lost Boy, which caught Zeos by surprise. Mavis asked of Zeos' connection to the book he found, and Zeos shared that it was a book from his childhood that he was fond of, and decided to adopt the name for himself. Gar asked what Zeos' name really was, and Zeos agreed that that was a good question, but an answer that is unknown to him. Zeos shared that he has been living in the city of Rand with the Balrus family for the last 15 years, and that his mentor and father figure, Thalan Balrus, is the one that has taught him everything he knows. As the group absorbed this new information, Laren shared her experience in the College of Lore, and the group realized that it's possible that the riddle was referring to two libraries, one in the City of Harmony, City of Music, and the other pertaining specifically to knowledge could be at the Arcanium, the largest library on Ador. With this knowledge, Zeos, May, and Laren made their way upstairs, and Gar and Mavis stayed at the bar. As Gar approached the bar, he noticed Belagron speaking with an individual that very much stood out from the rest of the crowd. The individual was dwarven in build, although easily a foot taller than the average dwarf, and he wore a thick fur coat with deep blue and brown colors. As Belagron and this individual finished their conversation, Gar approached and shared the rumors that he had learned on the Isle of the Gods, which intrigued Belagron, as he realized he could easily share this rumor with anyone from an organization known as the Sojourner's Quest, a very renowned explorers guild that loves lore of new locations. Gar also shared a new rumor with Belagron, one that says that there is an ancient storm giant that has made his home at the top of Mount Amatho, the largest individual mountain known on Ador. Belagron was less impressed with this rumor, but gave Gar a free drink in appreciation for the first rumor he shared. Belagron then shared a new rumor with Gar, one of the city of Zuro in the eastern Turanai Desert, specifically with an event they hold there known as the Duel for the Dune Lord. This event was apparently a gladiators event that was down in popularity, until a few years ago, a Loxodon and a half-orc won the event, but it was said that during the event, an ancient evil was briefly awoken, although it was unable to take any root. This rumor caused the event to regain popularity over recent years, and now many people compete in it for the title of Dune Lord, a renowned title that carries a lot of influence throughout the land. Gar also asked if Belagron knew of any ravines or scars upon the world, given the fact that the rumors say that the city of Besmeden was swallowed up by the earth itself, and while the Kroska Canyons to the southeast were the only ravines that Belagron could recall, he was unsure of anywhere else that could fit the description. Up in May's room, May laid out the document for analysis. Right off the bat, Laren realized that a portion of the text was written in Thieves' Cant, that translated to, "If we did not have one, we would not know the other, yet light drowns out the darkness." Zeos identified a portion of text written in Abyssal that read, "How are we to fight darkness if we are tempted by it?" Zeos then identified another portion written in Draconic that read, "And of course there are times where we are in need of help for justice against evil." Zeos decided to cast Comprehend Languages to hopefully decipher the rest of the document. As Zeos opened his eyes and looked at the document, he couldn't see anything but a bright light from the document that immediately burst into his vision, causing him to fall unconscious, leaving Laren and May rushing to find Gar, hoping he could help Zeos in some way.